Wow, I love YouTube. One of the things I've been really loving about YouTube lately is this dude named Ordinary Sausage. You've probably already heard about him since his popularity has been kinda rocketing lately, but if you don't know who he is, this will catch you up to speed. The guy behind the mustache is basically a character that makes sausages out of completely random things. Things that are absolutely not found in what you would call an ordinary sausage. This is the focus of his content, the KFC meals, the mixed nuts, the eggs. This is what the people come to see, weird looking sausage casings filled with baked beans. But I have a different appreciation. What I love most about the guy is his formula of sausage gags that he uses to support the main event. This formula is the backbone that sets the tone for his content, and I think it's responsible for his explosive success. Let's walk through it.
Let's sausage!
First up, at the start of every episode, you get your I guess.
Well, hey there, folks, and welcome back. I guess
Followed by a sausage concept introduction.
it's the Slim Jim sausage!
Now the gags start rolling in, okay? First you get your sausage grinder activation gag.
This is for you! This is for you!
That transitions into the grind, and if you're lucky, you might get a regrind.
I think you already know what time it is. It's regrind time.
Then you get the wonderful opportunity to enjoy a couple of classic sausage-themed remixes.
We didn't start the sausage. It was always burning since the world's been turning.
Next is the casing sling. I love this part because it has sort of an abrupt yet subtle how-to basic level of absurdity.
Clear miss.
Now this is the climax. This is the actual act of sausaging.
Let's sausage!
Which moves right into my favorite segment, the blow.
Will it blow? I'm gonna give this one a 5 Mark Ruffalos.
After we count our Mark Ruffalos, we're gonna be presented with an oil gag. Some swift pokes.
Don't go chasing sausage falls.
And some words of encouragement.
Make me proud, William Randolph Burst.
This is where things get risky, okay? This is where we might get a burst.
This is just getting ridiculous. Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
But if not, we're gonna get a nice chop.
This is what we call a tragedy.
And finally, it's taste test time, which begins with the final part of the sausage gag formula, the squeeze.
The eagle has landed. It's time to taste the sausage. Good Christ, is that bad? 1.5 out of 5.
Bop, 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 bop.
So that was the layout of some key moments in a typical ordinary sausage video, but outside of these moments, there's also a lot of unexpected events and improvisation that you'll want to go through and take a peep at. I think there's a lot to learn about the formulaic nature of Mr. Sausage's content here too. The formula provides a sort of jazzy rhythm to these videos, you know? There's a nice predictable flow here, but it still kind of teases you with the possibility of a jazzy improvisation. The viewer always knows what to expect, and therefore they get a nice sense of excitement leading into their favorite gag. Personally, the first thing I think about when I see a new upload on my homepage is how well today's ingredient is gonna blow. But is it gonna blow at all? There's your improvisation. And the key to any great gag. Condition your viewers on what to expect, lead them into a segment, and then like a Trojan horse, you switch out the punchline by getting Mrs. Sausage involved.
Stop playing Will It Blow!
Or by passing out from blowing too hard. I've been watching this dude for a hot minute and I love everything he's made so far. But you know what he's missing? A freaking sardine video. What the heck, man? It seems so obvious. I mean, he has a whole fish video, but nothing with Deans. Whatever, let's just do it ourselves. So with the goal of making a sausage out of sardines, the first thing I had to consider was what type of sardine I should use. As you all know by now, there are many different ways we can go here, but the one Dean that came to mind right away were the spicy Bellas. Here's why these Deans are my go-to daily dudes, okay? They've got the best value to quality ratio that I've come across so far. They don't really have any scales, and they have a really strong smoky flavor, which I thought would be great for a sardine sausage, especially when coupled with that spicy piri-piri action. To Did I pronounce that right? I don't know, whatever. That said, my first step was to let as much of the oil drip off as I could. One of the things you learn watching ordinary sausage is that too much oil is something you really want to avoid. Speaking of too much oil, I also had the idea to put a little rice in my mixture to soak up whatever oil doesn't drain out. So I threw a cup of rice onto the stove to cook while I take care of this next, very gross step. So this is called hog casing, and it's exactly what you think it is. It's just a bag of friggin' intestines. And there's no easy way of doing this. You just gotta get in there, man. You just gotta get your hands in and rinse them off, because they're preserved in this little baggie of a ton of salt. And plus, it's intestines, and anytime you plan on eating intestines, you probably want to rinse them off a bit. Then it says to plop them into a bowl and soak for a while, which gives us plenty of time to do the fun part. It's time to grind up the beans. So we got a KitchenAid here, and I picked up a grinding and stuffing attachment for it. And it's real simple. You just shove all 30 or so beans in the hole and wait for the little gears in the bottom to grind them up and spit them out. This is the only step where I felt like I was doing it right, This really doesn't leave much room for error, and it was actually pretty fun too. It just looks like normal ground meat coming out of the other end, huh? If I told you this was pork and only revealed that it was beans at the end, you would totally feel M. Night Shyamalan. You know what this is making me think of? How people always try to scare you away from eating processed meat by telling you about the bones and sinew and eyes and whatever all mixed in. But that stuff is really mixed in there. I mean, there's 30-something spines in here and you'd have no idea. Plus all that calcium? I don't know, I don't see the downside. Use every part of the animal, Turns out 30 or so beans yields a pretty big batch of meat. So now I've got my tower of bean meat and my rice is all set, so I plopped it all into a mixing bowl to combine it real quick. You know what, this is more of a Joshua Weissman video more so than an ordinary sausage video. Hey, 2 birds with 1 stone, I guess, right? Now here is probably where you would think to add spices and stuff, but you know what, these spicy bellas are plenty spicy. I don't need to mess with them at all, so I'm calling the mixture all set. Now it's time to get weird with some pig guts on a final rinse, and this time you want to run water through the dang thing. My wife really hated this step. So with my hog rinsed and my beans minced, we're ready to stuff. And spoiler alert, this is where I screwed up. You see, there are 2 sizes to this tube stuffer thing, and I opted for the big tube, which I really shouldn't have done. You'll see why in a few minutes here. Boy, maybe I should censor this part. So now I'm just sort of priming the mechanism there, Kind of like you do a lawnmower or whatever. Just cramming some meat in there, squishing it in, it's releasing these weird little air bubbles. But at this point I'm getting pretty excited because I'm just about to be finally making some sausages after all this buildup. Right away you're going to notice this is a little bit slower than the ordinary sausage method and a little bit grosser. Yeah, something about it slowly coming out like that is a little bit, we'll say poopy. Poop-like in delivery, perhaps? As weird as it looks coming out of the tube, though, it definitely does look like sausage, so we're getting somewhere. And in this moment in my head, I'm like, oh my god, am I actually making sausage right now? This is incredible. But the good vibes don't last too long, and here's why. So because I use the big tube, the sausage casing is really stretched on there real tight, and because of that, it has a hard time kind of releasing from the tube on its own. I have to kind of pull it off. But I don't really realize that right away, and I don't really totally know what's going on, and to me it looks normal, it looks fine. But then you get to a few times where the casing is really snagging on the tube, and the sausage itself is getting way too plump, it's getting way too packed. And that basically spells disaster later on. But for now, let's just ride out this euphoria where I haven't realized how much of a mistake I've made yet. Isn't it beautiful though? Wow. Think about all the sardines in there. So it looks pretty good, but I kind of felt like it was a little uneven because there were a few obvious spots where it was really skinny and other parts where it was way too fat. So I had the bright idea to squeeze it around to even things out. Turns out it wasn't so bright. So yeah, I had a few breakages and I had to lop off some of it to salvage what I had left, which was less than half of what I started with. This could have been avoided if I had used the smaller tube and kept in mind that the casing was going to contract in the pan. But whatever, we got enough sausage out of it. So since the sardine mixture is already cooked, I just have to cook the casing real quick. First I have to pop a bunch of pinholes in it so that the steam can release while the casing contracts in the pan. However, no amount of pinholes is going to stop this thing from bursting if you overstuffed it from the get-go. But you know what, man? We made it. We officially have a finished sardine sausage. And yeah, it's a little sloppy, but whatever. Let's just see how it tastes. Well, we did it. We conquered the sausage. Well, maybe we didn't totally conquer it, you know. There's some clear imperfections here, and we're dealing with about half the length we started with. But, you know, all errors aside, I'm considering this a complete success. We've got plenty of intact sausage here, probably for enough for like three dogs, you know. So yeah, let's get our perfect dogs out here. A one and a two. I mean, that's a good dog. That's a good sausage. That looks pretty real. Maybe I could have done it a little longer. That looks a little silly. There we go. That looks a little bit better. You never eat a dry dog. That's what I always say. Here goes nothing, people. You know, I don't know about that. That's a little weird. I mean, it's not bad. It's definitely not terrible. But it doesn't have the texture that you expect from a sausage. Like, it's a little too mushy. It needs a little strength to it, you know? A little girth. I mean, it's pretty good. It's just, it kind of feels like I'm eating like a meatloaf, but without cooking it. You know what I mean? Like if you loaf like a burger, if you make a burger patty and then you just start eating it. That's kind of the texture I'm living in right now. Flavor-wise, we're there. I think that's a good fish sausage, flavor-wise. Yeah, I'm finding myself enjoying the bun more than I am the dog. And it's based solely on texture. The flavor is great. It tastes just like some belladines. I don't know, I guess I'd give it 3.5 sausages out of 5. 3.5 is actually a little too generous, to be honest. I mean, at the end of the day, it wasn't really a sausage. It was more like a tube of pate on a bun. It kind of gave me an experimental sausage alternative feel. But I guess that's what this and ordinary sausage is all about, you know? Experimentation. It's about taking something that we already know and love, like sausage, and not just pushing the boundaries of how we define it, but absolutely obliterating them. Maybe that's where he gets his name. You see, what he creates on his channel are not widely accepted as ordinary sausages. But through the act of constantly challenging the accepted definition, maybe something like an air sausage can become ordinary. And maybe if we allow our idea of sausage to evolve with this changing landscape, we can apply that mindset to other areas of humanity as well.
Let's do it to it, Steven Spielberg!
Wow, I love YouTube. And if you made it this far in the video, you probably love YouTube too. So listen, do me a favor. Close your eyes for me real quick, nice and tight, and picture in your head one of your friends who you think might be into the same weird videos that you are. Now do me a favor and send them the link to one of my videos. Don't even say anything. And if they ask any questions, just ghost them and leave them with their thoughts. Alright, take it easy. That's pretty good, actually. Boy,
Something I found on the web. According to Medscape.com, testosterone stimulates hair growth.